You want to read that? You're
One of them.
See, I
Address the envelope.
hated it.
College.
I would season the
Home.
as well.
Category
I
black,
cook it.
which was, I think, the highest category.
Used to have a
I
plate.
hated that because it would change the season.
Yeah.
Highest ever.
No.
Got done. It had taken about 2 months to get rid of that season.
He said it was like 3 miles an hour. Went everywhere. I won't have an office. It's chilly.
They're on the.
It's gotta have season.
All these meetings, other.
Yeah.
I didn't learn a thing. I gotta be there.
That's why we're.
That's why I so frustrated on walk in.
Make it.
Leave from 11 o'clock.
White cream cheese frosting. Ice cake.
I'm gonna hear two answers. We don't know.
Can couple on their honeymoon is trapped in Red Bull.
Call the meeting to order for October 2025, please. In the introductions for tonight that we need to go through. Not seeing any. Any proposed agenda revisions from staff? Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review last month's minutes. I do have a question in the check register on the skid steer. Is that for building maintenance,
That is for EPD.
EPD?
Yeah, and it was the Perkins
Okay,
approved purchase. So-
okay, to take care of the property to the west.
And he got multiple attachments with it too. One of the reasons he wanted that is it kind of takes a place of one of his trucks.
Mhm.
So obviously we all know that it costs a lot to maintain and upkeep his trucks. And so he could utilize this in place of one of the trucks because he has like the pole digger attachment. Yep.
Yeah, he's got an auger. We dealt with all that through Can Equip.
Okay.
He's got-
Were you able to get a masticator or anything for it for vegetation removal?
Oh, yeah, so we've got kind of a, it'll do up to like a 4-inch tree, kind of a brush hog that'll attach on the front.
Right.
so you can mow and keep it up.
Masticator.
Yeah,
Okay.
masticator, I've not heard it called that. But yeah, we got that, the pole setter and then the auger with all the extensions that he can
Okay.
use, so it's working really well to sell. A couple of his trucks. Like I
Okay.
said, from his pack meeting, most of the crews, when they're out doing maintenance, they're taking a skid steer with them, so if the students get exposure for that.
Good. Okay, I'm seeing skid steer and I'm going, okay, what are we using it?
Yeah, predominantly for EPD. And I mean, it is available and open to utilize in other areas if we need, but it's predominantly theirs. So.
Okay, all right, just one of those questions.
Andy Quick did a super job working with Josh on it. So.
I've always had good working relationship with Can Equip, especially on chainsaws and things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
We buy the toolkits.
Yes, we buy them up front and then they just pay us.
They reimburse. Okay,
That way they can use their aid and whatnot for it.
Still kids go with them when they.
Yeah.
Leave the pro.
Okay, any other questions on register or last month's minutes? I'd entertain approval for the consent agenda. It's been moved and seconded for approval of consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Very good, that carries. Okay, partnerships.
So this month, last month I told you I want to kind of start getting this out as a written report so you can get a better glimpse of some of the meetings and various folks that we're meeting with. So that way, if you have connections with those, you can either share some insight or we can have discussions on those outside of the board meeting to try and improve this area. I won't go through all these. It was a busy month with this is just with David and myself. There have been some other ones that have gone on outside of our areas, but some of the big ones here I want to highlight too. We're starting to get attention from a lot of our national companies. Eaton is one of our larger ones. They obviously do pretty much everything for they own controlling shares of GE, Westinghouse, and all these other places. So Had a representative come out, had great conversations, we'll follow it up and see. Work on, there's some in-kind donations, some other support. I've also broken these up into just, these can be adjusted to, we did business and industry, I did state, national level, easy living, and then at the very end, I chart kind of broke. I didn't really know what to do with this. I found some examples online, just kind of did the best I could.
So with Eaton Corp, are they gonna be able to really supplement our electrical program?
That was one of their main ones. We also talked with our electric power distribution, since they do handle a lot more of the medium, heavy electrical needs than that. We've also had some discussions with Ultra. They a corporation down here, various automation controls and things for aviation. Eaton is in the process of working with them for either an expansion or something like those, so. There's a lot of different avenues. They're one of their big interests are, they have these things called Eaton Experience. So the closest one is in Chicago. It's about a facility is about as big as our building here, where they bring folks in, they do various training on things. I think Jeffries would probably be a partner in the future with that, if we could do that. So the idea was turn around where they are looking for a Midwest spot. And so we can partner with them and have a space here. There's a potential we can have the on-campus present for our students, for community members, for the states around us.
Yeah,
On campus, what would be the benefit to the student, like would they be interns? Or train on their equipment and then possibly a job transfer, or what's?
It's super early conversations. I wouldn't be able to for sure say what those are, but I would imagine paid internships, but also, I mean, the experience of working with these folks. And then we would work out some kind of arrangement where there's either a rent or some kind of exchange there, but then our students would be learning directly from Eaton and their trainers as well.
most of the work I've done with Eaton has been through the Cutler Hammer line, as well as their programmable logic controllers and such. So it would fit really well with our programs. This is heavy square D country, so it's gonna it's gonna be hard to do.
Listed on there too. We also met with Square D. The representative was very nice. We're looking at an MCM of some sort of, but it'll be a large piece of equipment. So we have to make sure we're all good with that.
Yeah.
And then the last one I did want to highlight here is we're finishing up our Excel training company. This was our very first kind of our contracting in place exactly the skills they needed. We have an instructor that's delivering it online right now. They have about 20 or so employees that are logging on, and they're all asking great questions. They're getting some skills. I should have feedback by the.
Okay. John, I didn't mean to interrupt you if I did.
All of this stuff is also accelerating how fast we do non-credit stuff, because many companies. Oh. Keep that in mind. I'm probably gonna be working with our attorney to make sure we set up any legal issues, but since it's workforce training, it's part of our mission, there shouldn't be any issues, but I wanna make sure. Smithfield was in today. Why don't you hit that one quick?
Sure. So a couple weeks ago, David went out and spoke with Smithfield just to take a tour and kind of talk to some inputs out there. And there's also a lot of good connections there with our industrial maintenance technology, electrical as well. Maybe a lot of welding on their equipment. The representatives put to plant manager, assistant plant manager, and the line manager came down today. Great conversations again. Sounds like we're probably going to move forward with some in-kind donations, possibly sponsorship. We'll do that next.
Companies are also interested with the Patterson grant, what we can do with VR. Torgerson, very interested in that and what we can do on the electrical side. I guess that this is probably gonna accelerate even faster than I thought.
So with Torgerson, does that include all their underground stuff and electrical, or? Okay, wow.
Yeah, they're very excited. It sounds like initially a lot of theirs will be on-site visits, both here and wherever they're gonna be out at. They're probably gonna have on conduit brought to us so that our students can practice bending and all those things, especially this is gonna have to be prefab, it's okay, it's not 100% accurate, then it's a lot of opportunity for that. So,
Well, if they can learn how to do multi-shot bends, that's
yes.
very beneficial.
Can you remind me, when you do something like that for Florence, you have a rate sheet so they pay, or is
Yeah,
that?
we have it set, we often, we have a proposal, a template on that. And they'll agree to a certain dollar amount per however many seats that we're gonna allow for it. We figure up all of our costs, do a quick cost benefit analysis and try to hit around under 80 to 100% margin.
The training's put together with them, so they sign off that we're giving them what they want.
And we're developing what we're calling regional regional credentials. And we can see credential pieces that align with something out in the world, but it's not all.
So it would align then with like block licensing and things such as that for known knowledge, experience, et cetera, to be able to challenge block licensing.
That's a future, but
Understood.
that would be what we're working towards. A lot of it, right now, especially like the cell, and looking at these electrical pieces, it's taking, how can we take one of our semester long classes and break it into smaller chunks? So that way they can knock it out in a couple weeks or something. If they have enough of our METCs, apply a credit for prior learning.
Okay.
They can back that up.
Okay.
So Fort Riley reached out to us last week for a very quick meeting with Colonel Hill. They have a division that for the soldiers, they get A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and Tech Plus. They have to get those for their job in the computer credentials inside the military. And the unit that they have out there is very costly and it unfortunately not as much success as they wanted to. They reached out to us for a non-credit capacity, so they are working on, again, putting together a proposal, trying to figure out how would we protect shorter term stackable pieces through MATC that would lead them so they're prepared to take the CompTIA and all these other certifications. The exciting part about that is that active duty, so a lot of that is a potential that our courses will be offered while they're stationed, while they're doing for their job. But again, we're building in those backdoor into the academic side, so they complete these. You can really see, Dave and I actually looked at it today with proposed computer support. There's a high likelihood that if someone were to earn every one of those certificates that I just mentioned, they would essentially have a certificate A, and that would be a good marketing effort for us. Also, a good recruiting effort for keeping folks here in our neighborhood.
So with them being able to do that overseas, they just log into our system securely and be able to.
Which we'll have to work through because we have a huge list of block countries that can't
Right.
access our attention at all, but we would just obtain a list and try to figure out how to narrow that down. Yeah, we'll have to work through that.
Yeah, okay, that was when you said overseas, I'm going, ooh,
Yes.
how's that gonna work?
It'll be a problem or a hurdle, I should say, but we'll work through it.
But there's potential, if this works well and we have success with it. Obviously, we'll be able to build our own, but this individual also does a lot of education for this MOS, these positions, sorry. Can't remember all of them, Deltas and Charlies and Bravos, but all the other military installations. So it's good potential for us to expand our reach with these different.
Okay.
So sometime we need to talk off different than
Sure.
here, because it's take too long. But if you'd start partnering with Ultra.
Yeah.
Then Fort Riley has an innovation unit and those things are not tied together, but the kind of work they do. So there's another expansion out there that may work. We'll talk about that some other time.
I appreciate it. That's the whole point of this report, so you guys know what we're working on.
Okay.
Drop your phone, Brian, come on.
Oh, so, just
35 seconds.
I was just looking at, so Flint Hills Tech was reaching out to us to get help with their adult ed program, so, that's one of the things that we've been kind of looking at. As far as like the updates, it's mostly more like the adult ed, I would say this time, because I didn't get a whole lot from faculty. But the adult side, we're looking at going over to Wamego, doing some stuff over there and possibly Fort Riley. That's kind of in the works as far as aligning with the state, which again, like I said earlier, I've been working with the state, trying to figure out the curriculum and stuff like that, so. Some hurdles there we have to get through, and then Flint Hills Tech, was talking to David and Rachel, and they were wanting to go ahead and see what we're doing, see if they could kind of mirror it, see if other programs around the state can mirror it. As far as like, I know Chris and Jim met with Wamego High School, and I'm still working in the, doing classes in the high school, stuff like that, so. Definitely, I think a better group to work with as far as like their principal, their superintendent, especially the principal. I've been really impressed with her, so they could probably give you more information on that, but should be it for me.
All the programs are doing well this early part of the semester.
Yeah, as far as we had faculty senate meeting Friday, I didn't hear any complaints from them.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm only on campus maybe about 2 or 3 hours a day, so I haven't really heard a lot, so yep. Nothing came out in the meeting.
Okay, so what are you doing with the rest of your time that you're being paid for? You're only here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You mentioned adult ed, and Chris knows this too. Most of the other places around the state are anticipating there will be no more federal funding, et cetera, and KBOR and state regions are also trying to figure out what to do. Getting hit, know more about how do we do things? Can you partner with us? And it might be another opportunity, but they can't. I'm very proud of our folks because they know how to put the box. And yes, we're a college. We're not only a college. How do we do the non-credit stuff? We work with solutions. How do we drive partnerships and agreements to give people skills? Like I said, this is going to accelerate a whole lot faster than we ever thought. Hang on.
Okay, Josh.
Okay, first, some of you probably remember, most of you, about a little over a year ago, we had the tax exemption issue to where our paperwork had gotten misplaced or lost or whatever through the state. The original exemption process that the tech college went through was in 2004. We finally did make it through the Board of Tax Appeals office, and they did order that the exemption be reinstated, retroactive back to July 1st, 2004.
Good.
And good to stay intact every year thereafter moving forward, as long as we continue to do education. So that's
Okay.
back in place and we're good to go.
And what is their definition of education, what we do today? Sure. I did not like that answer.
Everything we do ties to our mission, which is education.
Okay, as long as they view that as, that's what our base business is.
We can prove it.
Okay.
Students had.
Well, we can.
Yeah, okay, maybe not.
We can, that would just be an auxiliary enterprise that we'd have.
Yeah.
Right, our primary purpose.
Yeah, and that's even kind of what mentioned the Tech Plus stuff, but it still goes back to our mission of education.
Okay.
Those conversations before, but should be fun.
All right, I didn't want this to get turned around.
Congratulations, it's not everybody gets a positive result from VOTA.
Exactly.
And I thought it moved a little quicker than I thought it was going, only a little over a year. Okay, so the other thing is the furniture. So I sent you that email to kind of mull over a little bit, so. This has kind of led me to do a deep dive into our purchasing policies as well, but so short term, the goal is. We're using the original manufacturer KI that makes the furniture that we did in this building. We want to stay with that, keep that same cohesion through the rest of campus, using capital outlay funding as we can year by year to just keep upgrading old furniture. The only thing, we're buying that furniture direct from the manufacturer. We did take that out to bid when we did this building. The only thing we're kind of able to, at this point, check with different vendors on is the labor itself, and we did do that on this and did have instead of John A. Marshall last time did the labor, this time Circadian. They worked with as well, came in a little bit cheaper. So our sole source justification policy as written right now requires an employee to write that memo, a VP to look it over, approve it, send it to the next chain, which would be Jim. He looks over and approves it. That sole source policy as written currently does not require any board approval to enact sole source. However, the policy for capital purchases does say that anything over 25K still does need board approval to make that purchase. Even if we did sole source, we just didn't have to go through the process. So what I'm looking for short term, if agreeable, would be for a board action to approve us to not exceed $75,000 to purchase furniture from that vendor.
You could have broken it through them in several different purchases, but we'd end up paying more with the shipping and everything.
Sure.
I may, but you can stop there and do that, or we can go a little further in. So right now, our purchasing policies are broken out across 4 different policies. It gets a little muddy and confusing, so I used a Copilot to kind of go through and compile them all and go through what our thresholds are, as well as what the approval processes work for through each policy. There's a little, not really a conflict, but just maybe some confusion on which policy is enacted at what point. But I think we would like to bring back in the upcoming meetings, maybe some ideas for some revision to maybe compile this a little bit more into the less policies. And maybe talk about, and even a little bit of your input. So these thresholds, so for example, I'll go back to this 25K was being thrown around and some things I see clear back from 2009. So even some discussion about, is it time that we look at those thresholds and adjusting some of them, things of that nature.
Got it.
So I'm seeing 25,000 plus.
So anything $25,000 and up. Normally, when the sealed bids required, unless sole source is enacted, which is what we did in this case. However, anything 25,000 plus defined as a capital improvement, which that gets a little bit muddy. And
That's where I was seeing the mud.
Yeah, and so from what the policy states, anything with a useful life considered capital with 2 years of useful life or more.
Okay.
So furniture to me falls into that, but it's kind of debatable. I think that one needs some work to kind of really zone in on what does that mean.
Like you said, I think we'd like to bring some proposed revisions for review in the future. You know, where does furniture lie with this versus equipment? Where's the threshold on equipment, major, minor, whatever? Certainly construction renovation is definitely, but all of these right now are kind of lumped together.
Yeah, and I think the goal is not to keep the board out of any, it's just kind of that balance between where the board needs the oversight versus we need to just move forward on a project and not take 3 months to get it done. But back on what I'm hoping to get now is so capital outlay, that budget's looking great so far this year, where we're at for this point of the year. Also, there was the total capital outlay as well as this year, they threw in an additional 90 for what's called campus improvement fund, campus restoration funding.
Yep.
So with that tied together with capital outlay, the budget looks healthy. So it's a good time to do this furniture project, which right now that focus is going to be in the nursing area.
State Senator Billinger 2 sessions ago, campus restoration, all of your colleges to get them into the deferred maintenance. And it took a little while, but this past year it was finally approved. So every 2-year college got that amount. addition to the capital outlay. So a little bit more to deal with. Right. The good news with what he did, it doesn't require the match that capital outlay does.
I'll take care of the next question.
Like Josh says, it's not necessarily a conflict, but there is some mud that we need to clear up. It probably should the threshold go up maybe on certain items, but not on others. Well, I'd like to move ahead with the furniture because Patty. I think you'd agree that you're trying to stay consistent with what we're buying is good.
Any change in warranties or how they back the product or anything like that?
So same as original.
Well, you want essentially a motion to approve $75,000.
To a not to exceed.
Not to
It's
exceed
gonna come in
75,000.
Yeah, a motion to approve a furniture purchase up to 75,000.
Move.
It's been moved and seconded to approve furniture purchase up to not to exceed $75,000. Specifically for the nursing area, but if it can be used elsewhere, we will use elsewhere. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
And I always visit with Josh about, he can work with Kara as we're going through the audit, let the auditors take a look at the field of let them weigh in.
Okay. And I did have a good conversation with Mr. Penny the other day.
So in the next meeting or two in the future, get ready for some exciting policy review. I'll bring the vodka for you.
It's in the minutes, right?
Yeah.
I think Tim should appoint a policy review committee that doesn't contain me.
John's the chair. So that meeting could be as long or as short as John says.
Short.
You're right.
So here now that we've wrapped up our first quarter, we've updated the financial dashboard to include the actuals at quarter end, just next to our budget for the year, the percentage that we've used so far, and then just compared to last year. That's helpful. But yeah, pretty much there's really no red flags at this point in the year. Everything's about right on track. As far as our revenues and even our expenses, we're just about right at 25% used on our expenses, so we're on track. And tuition and credit hour fees, again, it's kind of right where we budgeted. We knew there'd be some increases. We assumed there would be some increases, so yep, everything's looking pretty good. So I don't know if there's any questions.
So I have a question. Scroll down to the outflow total.
Yep.
The 2.6. In theory, I should be able to add the total expenditures for the last 3 months. What am I missing? Because it's about $600,000 difference.
So we don't consider a part of those expenses are student payments. So if we're getting aid from, Title IV and dispersing it to the students, that's on the expenditure report, just showing that that money is leaving our bank account. But we don't consider that an expense to the college. So that's probably a good majority of it.
So Kara, that's just a pass through.
Why don't we show it as income then?
So the income would just be the tuition and credit hour fees, but when we're dispersing money to the students, it's because they're getting more aid than they need to cover their tuition, so then they get a refund check.
But we've already received the income.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So we could,
You could, but yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Well, anything else there, but then we did also update the rest of the dashboard, if you scroll down. Just to show cash on hand, which is the maroon. It has gone up a little bit since we last met, just because again, we're receiving tuition and
fees still, and so it's continued to go upwards for now until it will probably take a dive down here for the rest of the semester. But then you can also see that our reserves has gone up a little bit. We were able to put that $500,000 into reserves that we planned on last year. And then if you look at the month-to-month difference, we get about 5,000 in interest each month that just automatically deposits in that account, so that's good.
Back on the previous, what are operational liabilities?
Oh, so
Versus
they're very minimal. We probably could up them into another category, but it's essentially if we have students who have refund checks that they haven't cashed, and then 5 years they turn into unclaimed property, so we just have to return them to the state of Kansas, so.
I don't think you, for me, not for you.
Yeah, I was like, that, we can probably put that somewhere else.
Thanks.
If we go back down, we updated foundation, no big real updates. So there, and then if you total debt, we did, as we mentioned last time, we were able to pay off the roof. So you can see now that has a $0 balance. And then the ATC and Wamigo, we won't make payments on those for a while now. So this is what it'll look like until about next April or May, but
All payments are current.
yes. We're not just not paying. And then before I do forget, so we have started the audit previously this month. Everything's going really well. We're right on track so far. And we did also talk to them about the bank reconciliations, because that's kind of been something that they've mentioned every year, wanting us to use Genzabar to do those. And so I kind of walked them through our process, because I spent a good chunk of a week trying to use Genzabar and going back and trying to reconcile, and it's just so much harder than what we currently do. So I kind of walk the auditors through the process. You know, we are using Genzabar. We export all of the data out of Genzabar and we put it into Excel, just because that gives us a lot more features to work with than you can in Genzabar. So once I walked him through that, and we agreed that we're going to have another person who's going to, you know, review every single month to check to make sure everything was done correctly. They said they're A-okay with that, and so they're gonna remove that note off of our next audit. So that was really good.
David came in and
Yeah.
checked it out too. That was great.
Okay, as long as we have the, you know, the capital U on there, that's.
Yeah.
Well, I thought what you implemented with regard to second set of eyes and basically kind of a dual control type process, that probably went a long ways towards the auditor.
Exactly, yeah, they just want to make sure, because yes, I am typing things into this Excel document, so they just want someone else to look and see, okay, what's being typed in is really, it's coming straight from the bank statement, straight from Genzabar, so they were happy with that.
Because it's awful easy to transpose two numbers. All right, anything else on finance? Okay,
I am next.
you are.
So you will see attachment 7 and 8. 7 is the computer support specialist degree map, and then attachment 8 is the electrical technology degree map. And I know we've been talking about these two programs for quite a while now, and part of the process in getting them approved through KBOR and HLC is obviously having your guys' approval. So I wanted to get the degree maps in front of you, and since they have changed significantly over the course of the last 1 or 2 years from where we started, this is the final of where they're at and what is going to get submitted to KBOR for approval. So
We'll have the R in degree.
yes.
Okay, just sure.
It's a dig.
And then they are both aligned through KBOR. So they both meet their alignment, which obviously they tell us the title of specific classes, the credit hours of certain classes, and how they're set up. So the computer support specialist, I will have to have you guys motion to approve the program as a whole, and then the fact that we'll have an associate's degree, a Cert B, and a Cert A, and approve the curriculum as written with the R in degree.
just to help me with my lack of understanding, what's a technical elective? Explain that.
So, most of the associate level programs require 15 credits of gen eds and then 15 credits of tech electives. So tech electives can be essentially anything that is not a gen ed. Generally, the tech elective is obviously applicable to the program of study. So like if maybe you're in construction tech and want to own their own business, they'll take some business classes as a tech elective. So it's, like I said, it could be anything outside of their required courses for their program and anything that is not a gen ed. But usually it is some kind of class to supplement.
That would associate to,
Right.
okay. That's what I thought, I just wanted to verify.
And we do intend to set up some tech elective options that are geared more toward the cyber track. Like we had talked about previously, that they could then add on to their regular program classes and then get even more specific into the cyber part of it.
Yeah, I know before I left power generation, we had to have our remote controls totally isolated from the outside world.
Yeah.
To where nobody could go in and hack it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that type of interface between this program and industrial maintenance.
Right, yeah, and I fully see that happening, that you'll have some students that wanna kind of take parts of two separate programs and to make up their tech elective bank like that. If they wanna get on to more of the, like you said, industrial maintenance track and do like IT work for that type of industry, they could take IMT classes as part of their tech electives, so.
And that would really tie into Eaton and ABB or.
Yeah, Parker had been.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if they go to Manco, they're gonna have to learn German. The equipment's in German. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess we need to entertain a motion to approve the computer support degree map. Can we do it as a whole or?
Yeah, you can
separate?
just motion to approve the computer support program with associated certificates and curriculum as a whole.
Yes, what you said.
So if that's the motion, I would make it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the computer support specialist degree map. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed with the same sign, please. Thank you. It's approved.
And then same thing with electrical. We've reduced this one. Originally, we were talking about like a 2-year, very broad degree map, but after hiring the instructor, Eric, and talking to multiple PAC members, they are wanting them as fast as they can possibly get them. And so they said cutting it down to this condensed 1-year type of format and only offering a Cert B and an associate's level is the route to go. So this is, again, it's KBOR aligned. So there are very specific classes that KBOR says that we have to offer at a certain credit hour amount. And same thing, tech electives would be the same as computer support. They could take anything outside of electrical and gen eds for their tech electives.
How well does this align with apprenticeship program? As far as follow it,
Approved
electric,
apprentice
yeah.
programs.
the Department of Labor, KDOL,
I mean, I think it could be done.
okay?
Like if a certain business and industry wanted to partner with us and set it up, like
Okay,
this would be on track for getting that type of thing set up. Obviously, I think the electrical one has multiple years of being a pre-apprentice, quite a substantial amount of hours of on-the-job training in order to qualify to then be an apprentice. And
well, pre-apprentice is
Yeah.
usually 6 months
Yeah.
for pre-apprentice, yep, in electrical.
right. So, I mean, I think, yeah, like I said, I think it could be set up at some point if there was interest in that.
the occupational work experience. Does that align with then OSHA 30, or is that more aligning into OSHA 10?
That's like an internship experience.
Okay.
That's their on-the-job training.
Okay,
So,
very good. So we do have contractors in the area that are willing to take Stephanie on hand to be a apprentice electrician.
Got a new job.
oh,
Sorry, you were the closest one. Okay.
Yeah, we told Eric that
Uh-huh.
Susie and I'll be electricians too.
That's what we did, and I'm gonna pull college in North Central. Because like in April of our first year, I went to work for a contractor. And then in March of my second year, I went to work
Yeah.
in that pre-apprentice
Mhm.
type environment.
We totally anticipate that Eric has already been in touch with multiple of his PAC members. They are willing and ready to take students for their OWE experience, and we fully expect them to probably have jobs long before graduation rolls around. So, yep.
Frankly, most of our employers aren't that crazy about trying to do apprenticeships.
Apprenticeships are long and hard, and you have to deal with a lot of DOL.
Well, that's why we have the internships, we have the OWEs, where we can basically accomplish the same thing without all the red tape.
Right.
I know Brian, I talked with Brian in plumbing, his program is set up so that when they finish his program, they only have 6 months left to do for an apprenticeship. With all the requirements.
Okay.
So we're doing all, working with the employer to make sure we're doing that. The other thing is, you guys know, all of these companies around, the smaller companies are a combination of HVAC, electrical, plumbing. So they see our ability to have kids get 2 or 3 of those certificates.
Mhm.
And then they can take them from there, get them specialized, get them beyond to where they want them. So again, our focus is on that entry level, the basics. Here we go.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the electrical technology degree program. It's been moved. Can I have a second, please?
Sure.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I think I had one more on Brian talked about adult ed, and then just another update about one of the programs. Matthew, one of our new faculty members for industrial maintenance technology, just recently got back from a 2-day NC3 national training in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So, and he received his NC3 instructor certification for Introduction to Mechatronics. So obviously he can now train his students, and they can then be certified nationally recognized and aligned with the industry standards for these NC3 certifications. So this
Programs that.
industrial maintenance technology.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had a really good time. He showed me lots of pictures. They have a really, it was at Wayne Community College in North Carolina. They have a really nice facility, but he did mention that they obviously got taxing authority and some very substantial donors to have such a nice, big, fully furnished facility. So, but he did say it was a really good experience and is excited to share that knowledge with his students. So.
I've borrowed from Wayne Community College. They're in the Research Triangle, Carolina. In fact, Smithfield, they worked with them in North Carolina as well. Quick sidebar on NC3, the executive director, Roger Tedeyevsky, at the Community College Entrepreneurship Conference that David and Chris and I were a few weeks ago. Visited with him. He's always wanting us to do more, and I always explain to him I'm not going as proprietary as they want. But I did visit with him about seeing if we could start working with NC3 to put together a nationally recognized credential for electric linemen for something in energy, because we have an Oct, but it doesn't have that weight of being that accepted. It demonstrates the skills for our students with area employers, but can we go more with that with energy? So I'm hoping to follow up with him to work on that, to see if we can get some legs on a national credential. Related to that.
So would our electrical program be NC3 or would it be?
Well, we keep doing Oct, but if we can add NC3 that has a national credential, that gives the students even more.
And we could do it across programs,
Electric power district
technology. I'm talking technology.
and EPD.
Yeah, so it's under consideration. I don't think we're gonna go that way at this point, right, Carrie?
Right.
We're gonna focus really with.
It's fine.
Commercial, it's just, because we are trying to do a little bit more of that apprenticeship piece and make sure if those students do want to do that, they're ready to do that. NC3 just isn't quite at that.
Okay.
I'm just talking about linemen.
And, oh, Brian is here. Yeah, Brian, one of your math is for electricians is trigonometry because they have to understand phases, electrical phases.
I actually talked to Brian as well about doing more of that higher level math and stuff like that, so. If the whole K-State thing would take off, who knows, maybe we would offer trig sometime.
Jackie knows trig.
Yep.
Okay. Now we get to fly down to monitoring reports, I think. Oh, that's sorry.
I think Kim had an update about nursing.
Yeah, I had a quick update for nursing. I know in the past I talked about Deirdre Greeley, who's one of the ADN instructors, got her certified nurse educator credentials from the National League of Nursing, and their ADN instructor, Evelyn Cook, just recently completed her certified nurse educator test, and they both said it's one of the most challenging tests they've ever done, but it really shows a lot of dedication and passion that they have for their students and that they want to do maintain those really high standards for our nursing students. So big kudos to them for completing that. That's all I had.
There is an adult ed attachment, Josh, that was added yesterday.
All right, Mr. Clark.
I'm not sure what it said. If somebody wants to.
Rachel Hall does, she has the same thing, so.
I keep mentioning that the demand for adult ed and ELL just keeps growing and we keep adding more folks to it, so. Keep figuring out how do we find resources. It's too important to let go.
We did have one student that was college ready that in math again, I think it was 2 weeks ago, so. What she score, 166?
70 something.
Yeah.
That it was math and reading, I think.
And reading, so.
That student enrolled in our program, and we have it set up at our institution where if you score a certain threshold, you're actually awarded college credit. And so that student was able to earn 6 college credits on their high school diploma. Which program is it? Business?
I think it's business,
So that student which one's business?
and it was an Onega student, so. Yeah, I want to point that out.
There's monitoring reports that are due this month for your review and approval. First one is asset protection. We've reviewed, where we're at, and we're in good shape. For compliance with that.
Questions on?
Have we had any increased issues with cyber attacks or anything like that, Josh, on our system? Need to have concerns about.
As of now, no, knock on wood, but, I think with Bree in particular and some of the IT staff here, the proactiveness has been great, so. I think we're really staying ahead of the curve, especially utilizing our Microsoft Cloud and resources. And now starting to build in some of the proactive AI tools and things to help monitor and do it.
Cause I know that's one of the huge vulnerabilities, no matter what.
And we have discussed at what point do we need to ask for some staff for that. The moment I think Amazon Cloud went down. A while ago.
Yeah, Canvas or LMS is hosted there, so we had students that we get to stuff that out of our control, but still up there.
They don't keep. And the way our folks are proactive with this stuff, it doesn't only help for these reports, but the institution is just using the reports with that accreditation. Either do these one at a time or do them like these.
I would want to, unless there's something that stands out.
Budget financing, budget financial planning forecasting goals that we put there.
We write these things in the negative like that all the time.
You know, it's inherited from, I mean, these reports were written
Yeah.
before I got here.
Okay.
I think when they were set up originally is it was to make sure that no one, when we were making sure we were meeting these things. But it's part of that executive limitations of no one is abusing anything.
You're like the only main changes is really cool with that.
Yeah, we cleaned that one up because it really didn't make a lot of sense. So it's like verbiage a little bit.
But financially, we're in that shape we don't fit in really. Compensation and benefits, this comes from Peter. Issues. Oops, I did.
You can grab a pen if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go on the board.
Get up on the board.
Well, the fourth one is next, but I might want to vote on those first because the next one is achievement events. It may take a little more review and discussion. It's up to you.
Approval of the three. Whatever's. Tired, guys.
We have a motion to approve the internal monitoring reports as
That's what-
presented for October of 2025 and as set out by the board. I think I heard a second come from the end of the table. It's been moved and seconded to approve the monitoring reports. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign, please. Thank you. Those are approved.
And I keep thinking, do we ever want to review these, revise these? Probably at some time, but they are a good check.
They are.
This next one is a little longer. Kim Withroder put it together based on the most recent complete data we have, if I say that correctly, Kim. We don't need, we can take as much time as you want. This is reviewing assessment of learning, credentials, a lot of stuff. Are there places we can improve? Certainly. But I think if this just keeps reinforcing and validating the learning that the students are receiving. Kim, if you want to add a quick summary?
So this is an assessment report and it's looking at the most recent complete year data, which includes following up with students after they graduate, after a certain period, see where they have been placed in their earnings. That's why it takes a little bit of time to review to get the report. Specifically, it's looking at some of those ends that are requested, such as your essential skills, those are your core abilities, the work preparedness, those are going to be some of the technical program stuff in the 4-part model. And then looking at some leadership, which is in more of the indirect measures. So as Chris or Josh or whoever is scrolling down, the first page is just going over and giving you some basic context as to MATC as a whole. Yeah. If I feel like you're going slow, it's probably slow. Talks a little bit about assessment and the philosophy. This comes directly from everything that's been approved in the catalog, so it shouldn't be shocking. Keep going. This is your 4-part assessment model. So you can see core abilities are going to be addressing essential skills or gen ed outcomes, whatever terminology you feel like using. Technical programs is addressing your work preparedness skills by having students complete, getting them credentials, placed in the job, and earnings. And then you've got some others. As we go through, it's laid out kind of like a book. You've got 2 pages over each of those 4 parts, and it's written as an executive summary. With a little bit of trending data, there's very little analysis. It's just a report of the actual data.
These each year, as we compile these, that's what forms the basis for the accreditation report on assessment of student learning, which is the big tripwire for most institutions.
It is, and it's our ability to look at the data as a whole rather than just looking at each of these individual components and going, okay, yeah, that looks great or whatnot. It's looking at that information every year systematically.
Back up just a second. So you see there, for instance, kind of you start seeing the recovery from COVID with completion certificates, et cetera. So I anticipate that will continue, but you know, see the COVID years and some of this pretty easily.
If you have questions about any of it, I am happy to
A
answer.
lot of speeches, but I've never had the thing move that fast. Slow down. Oh, no, you could keep on going.
I usually do that by accident. But this is a key, you know, it's part of the monitoring, of course, to make sure that you know that we are achieving our mission through what students are learning and demonstrating. I want more time, we've been discuss this more at a future meeting, but this is, then it becomes trend data. We look for the anomalies.
Can you go stop this thing seriously and go back to the topic? Please? I want to see what the students think of quality.
All of those are looking at students who indicated a positive response on a 5-point scale. So it would have been either marked as either they really agreed or they agreed.
Yeah, the student satisfaction results, I went through them in quite a bit of time. I talked some with Kim and we're gonna be working more. Many of our students talked about all of the different things we can do to support them, but the use of those services wasn't as strong as it should be. So those are some things we're gonna be working on internally, faculty, staff, et cetera, because we have those services available. Our students are performing well, we get them to the next level. As we move into more non-credit stuff, some of this is going to have to get revised, modified to reflect that. Also, starting next July, the short-term workforce Pell goes into effect, which is another tool we'll have for short training programs. Providing Pell grants to folks to get the training quick credential to help them with jobs. Feds are still working on final regs. The states have to approve the list of programs. Those are some things that we'll be building into this in the future for both non-credit and short-term Pell. My report you've had. I guess I should stop and see if you have any questions on achievement events.
I think those things are always good as long as you learn something to help yourself. You know, I don't ever get too hung up about the numbers unless they're like 20% positive.
I'm looking more, we improved, or there's some anomaly sticking out that we need to investigate, but
It's just constant improvement.
I'm letting those students are aware of everything we have to support them. They just won't be.
And we did go through faculty senate, we looked through the student satisfaction report for about, it was about an hour we spent. And gave some of our suggestions to Kim and stuff like that, and what we had noticed and stuff that we could improve on.
Do you think that lack of use is due to the students when they, you know, they get out of here at the end of their class day, they have a job to go to or something along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, we're not a typical college environment. I think some of it. I know part of it is just the kids and even some of our teachers and staff. Well, you can Google it and find the answer. You don't need to go to the teaching and learning center. True, however. But then here comes AI, and I watched a short clip yesterday of one of my heroes in higher ed, the president of Arizona State, Dr. Crow. And he said what they're seeing with AI, because everybody's concerned about cheating. And he says, yeah, the kids can do cheating if they want to, but he says we're training our faculty so they can work with the students to see the progression of how the students think and ask the prompts. Because it's in that better prompt, that more detailed prompt, you can see are the students learning and connecting the dots. Well, that's not a typical way a teacher thinks. So that's part of what we're gonna have to work on our end with our faculty, even with our staff, because AI is gonna be the tool we're gonna be using. So it's a combination of things. But we don't want to lose sight of our core, which is the workforce skills, having the the regional testing center, the credentials. That's that validation. When we talk to employers, they know there's that third-party validation of the skill. Game over, we got it. And that speaks to the students too. You got to demonstrate this. Transcript says this, but the credential says you actually did it. You can take action, or if you want, wait a month. If you want to take more time to look at it, we can. A lot to look at.
It's a lot to put together too.
It is.
Just look at it.
Okay, so we'll table board decision to next meeting.
My report is a little brief, but there's a lot of meat going on with different things. David Fritz went with me to entrepreneurship conference. I'm watching their eyes light up because that's where you get ideas. This group in AFIT are the people that are thinking ahead, higher ed. Not to mention Coronado Island is on earth, but anyway. The Manhattan Investor Breakfast, the economist for the Kansas City Reserve, Jeremy Hill, he came and spent about an hour and a half here. We had him talk with the plumbing student, plumbing teacher, some other things. That was good stuff.
Can you tell me about Jeremy's options we must work with our students?
So he was very interested in how we work with the employers, realize the skills our students are getting and that we're teaching the skills the employers want. He was wanting to see how we did that. Campus catch-up was good. We had a good turnout that first meeting when we had 3 people. We got another one tomorrow, doing those after board meetings, just to get a chance to communicate. Bill Dedigan, we've mentioned a lot, the MHK pathway signing with K-State. It's done, people. We did it. Yay. We had a bigger turnout than K-State did. But it's good. There's a lot of good community feedback with it, and it's a good thing for us. What I was pleased is the provost stopped me there and said, okay, here's the next 2 parts we're going to work on. One is how can we get K-State students who are not doing well at K-State to get over here? Part 3 is what really excited me. They want to work on the applied bachelor's degrees so that they can take more of our students after 2 years, give them 1 year of bachelor's stuff, they get the bachelor's degree. I will keep pushing him on that. Yeah, go down a little bit. Chamber retreat. They're looking at some of their priorities. One of the things that, we keep talking about bio, and bio is not going away, but I've also told them we don't have a customer at our level So Chris and Josh and I have done a little talking, which we're gonna need a discussion with you or down the road. For instance, critical environment tech. That's still a major investment if we do it the original way we designed it. And again, there's not a definite clientele for it, but it's a heck of an idea. So I'm working on some other ideas of how we might tweak that related to just an overall systems approach. Because of any company with smart systems in their buildings, but also with VR, what can we do with CET? So maybe we could take it on the road into Kansas City, which would allow us to rethink the space over here. Right now, if we finished this lab out, we'd be looking at between what, 300,000 and 500,000 in equipment. If we can do it via VR for a lot less, fix some things.
Has any of those partners been identified in the Kansas City area that we could start working on now?
If I could go to them, I could probably rattle off half a dozen that would say yes. They're not gonna come here. At the same time, I don't wanna close the doors here entirely, because if something does happen. But I think our real part on the biotech side is the critical environment facility support, bio.
So we've talked about business decision of having courses that are nice to have and you have a few students, but if you can other money. So is this one of those where we have to take the right steps before we get to final? Or that business model works for us?
And again, I think the non-credit thing with CET is probably the better way to go. It's not dead, but I think we're gonna come at it from a different direction to share with you. Healthcare, a lot going on there. Trying to do some collaboration with Cloud County and over in Geary County. Here, I know Chris is gonna fill in for me when I'm in DC with the Community Foundation to give our update on how we're using those healthcare funds. We're still working on the nursing issue that we addressed last month. Ferguson, good meeting. All the pods in the Community Accelerator Childcare Initiative place, all the pods are leased out. They will be at max capacity on kids around 1st of November. Actually, big thing is Senator Starnes got hold of me when I was in California, says I need this now. We did, we got it to him. Follow up, the leadership staff. Republican is working with revisers to start putting some of this into the reviser language, so stay tuned. But I think it's got a real chance to at least get, again, our first priority was restore the funding cuts. Second priority is form the group to help put this together, working with the legislature. We can do the pilot. Senator Starnes' email was a little scary, frankly, or exciting, depending on how you look at it, because he said this could be a model for all of education. That will not win me any friends at K-12 or the universities or the community college. But results-based, the way for us to go.
Who's involved in this? Is that part of Harkins? Oh, I mean Hawkins, the Senate, the House.
The House, not as much as the Senate right now. Book Masterson, his crew. But it also gives Kenny Titus in a position to have some influence. All that. But share with you a copy of what I sent in to Starnes. And not a final form, but I can lay out the outline of the structure of it. And the last thing was a nice mention from Senator Marshall in the congressional record. That's all. It's been super busy, but the non-credit stuff and our engagement with employers is probably busier than it's ever been in the last 11 years. Hardly a day goes by that we're not either having them here or we're there.
Yeah, I can't reach Gene in most days anymore.
Well, Chris, I get to wear jeans every day now.
And then we moved no November meeting unless there's some emergency, we'll meet in December. We have nurses pending commencement coming up. We're closed the week of Thanksgiving for fall break. After a commencement in December, here for a few days and then shut down for Christmas break and then back at it again. The government shutdown currently has not affected us much, keeping an eye on that as far as if it carried over in spring. So far, they've never held up Title IV funds, financial aid funds. They did for every higher ed institution in the country. That would be interesting.
Well, it seems like Thanksgiving timeframe. Late like shutdown. However, it's a. About that, something for folks, you know, they're always rejecting. So. Who knows? They would like to try to have it done by the 17th of November, but. I know we'll still see how that happens unless there's 10 people that can come on.
I'm in DC the 11th through the 14th. World colleges, I imagine. Everybody's busy doing good stuff. Getting good results.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the group or the college? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Get you involved.
Second.
Seconded. I didn't hear anybody